Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to assemble a WBC roof. In your pack you will have your tins and boards, you'll have one gabled ridge, you'll have two gable ends along with two walls. There's 4 lats, 2 of one size, 2 of another, 2 plastic cones and the most important pack of nails. First process when you get this roof is to remove from your wrappers the 2 walls and the 2 gable ends. So as you can see on the gable ends there's a rebate in the end which is to take the walls. I've got some glue here. Now this can be purchased separately from the shop. So then you get your gable, you put some glue into the rebates and then you take one of your walls. Now as you can see it's got a bevel on it, which this highest part obviously goes on the inside. What you do is just make sure it's nice and even and just force it in, and then you do the same with your other gable. So highest part to the inside. So as you can see it slopes with the roof. Take your glue again, squeeze it, a little drop onto each end. And then you take your other gable end, make sure you get it the right way around, and that just slides into those slots, make sure it's nice and level, and push. And then you start to knock your nails in. And for this part you will need your 1.5" lost head nails, and we put 2 per wall per side. Put that one there, nice and level at the bottom. These are quite close together. I'll just pop this one in and I'll show you. As you can see, we put them fairly close together because it is a narrow wall that the nails are going into. And then you repeat that process on both walls per side. Once you've done one side, I punch them in so the nails are just below the surface. Turn it over, and you can do it then on the other side as well. Once you've done that, we then have to put the lats onto the inside of the roof. There's 2 sizes of lats. There's your short ones and your long ones. Now the long ones go on the gable end. So what I do is I take my long lats and I take the other lat and place it underneath. Now it's entirely up to you whether you glue these lats on or just nail them using your inch lost head nails. There are 4 in total that go in. I'm just going to tap this one in a sec. Once that's tapped in, check that that's nice and flush with the edge. Do the same on this side. So then you turn it over and do the same again. As there's only one long lat left, I'm going to use a short lat as a guide, as it's the same thickness. Take your inch lost head nails. Make sure it's nice and flush again. For the next couple of lats to be put on, as you can see, there is a gap there, an overhang. So if you've got a block of wood that's about 1 inch thick, to rest it on, that might be ideal, but we're going to use the edge of the table. Just place it there like that. I'm going to take my lats, the short lats, just pop it there. That fits quite nicely into there. And I'm going to use 4 inch lost head nails again, but this time I'm going to put them at a slight angle because we don't want the nails poking through this wall as it is actually a little bit thin. And just Take that one in there. Now you can use your eye or you can use an adjustable square. I'm just going to check with an adjustable square, and I'm going to check the distance from the bottom of the roof wall to the bottom of the lat. I'll just tap this one in. I'll do the same on the other side. So again, I'll put it at a slight angle. Just push that up to there to hold it. And then I can pop the other two in the middle. Once you've done that, you can then do the same on the other side. Angle the nail again. Check the distance and hammer in. So now we're going to put the roof on, and we need these two boards. The boards have a drip run on one side and a bevel on the other. Okay, you take your two boards and pop them on the roof like so, and you've got your drip run here on the edge, the outside edge, and your bevel is in the centre. This next piece is a little bit tricky because you've got to try and equal the boards out on all four sides. I'm just going to turn this round, and how I do this, I tend to use an adjustable square. It's just a case of a little bit of trial and error. And I think we have pretty much got it. So once you've equalled that, what I tend to do is, for my own reference, I just slide one of the boards down a little bit. I take a pen, I just draw a line where the ridge of the actual roof wall meets this board, just in that corner, and the same on the other side. This means I've got a reference point in case either board moves. I take my adjustable square. You can also use a piece of wood with just a pen line on it. And I mark 4 lines. On both sides. Now this gives me a reference point on the roof where the edge of the wall is underneath this board, which means that I won't go through it with my nail. And I know that's 1/2 inch thick. For these 4, I use 1.5 inch lost head nails. Now, just a note, when you mark out the line, it might be an idea to mark it a good 1.5 inch away from the edge, because the last thing you want to do is for that nail to go over the air vent hole. So now I just tap these 4 nails in. So I'm now going to take the 1-inch round head nails, and these are going to just fill in between these 4 1.5 inch nails. So now that's one side done. So all you've got to do is repeat it on the other board. The difference between this roof and the national sloping roof is, apart from the size and type of hive that it fits onto, is the national gabled roof was developed for the national hive specifically, so that it could add a little bit of class to the hive. It gives it a nicer look and a nicer finish. The next stage is to put nails along the wall, which fixes the roof firmly in place. Again, this is 4 nails. If you choose to use more, if you've got some spare nails, that's completely up to you. it can only make it more secure. The line I've drawn, so that is the edge of the wall. So we need to place that a little way in, about 1/8 of an inch, and at a slight angle with the roof. And then when we turn it over to check, we can check that it's not come through the wall. So you do this 4 times on this particular roof. Just check again, and then you repeat the same process on the other side. Some people even screw these in place. I might not advise that so strongly, because a nail is actually stronger than a screw, because the nail punches the grain rather than rips through it. Slight angle. Okay, so I'm just going to check again on both sides. The next stage is to put the tins on. For this part, I need to use the edge of the table. And what you do is you place your tin over the board like it is there. You take your punch, and where those gable ends are, that is where you put your 2 end nails to hold this tin on. You do it quite close to the crease, just slightly off centre, because there is a drip run there, and the last thing you want to do is put your nail through that. Just give it a very quick punch. And you do the same with the other end as well. As you can see, it's off centre height wise. It's slightly towards the top of the roof to avoid hitting that drip run. So I'll get my 1.5 round head wire nails again. Make sure that that is nice and even, because sometimes the tin is slightly wider than the board, just in case the boards move a little bit, because sometimes during the wet season they can swell up a little bit. Just tap that in there. The next pair of nails you want central to the roof, but you want them equidistant, about 7 inches apart, as the total span is 21 inches. So you want one at 1, 7, 14 and 21. So, and the other one is there. And again, your nails straight in. And there you have your nails that have gone straight in, and there is nothing protruding through that drip run there. And we do the same sort of thing, but only on the gable end. Now you'll see at this point where the nails were that go from the gable end into the roof wall, we put the nail in the middle and we put it in line with those nails so it looks nice and tidy. We put one around about 1/2 inch from the ridge, and then we roughly go for the middle. And again, you then get your round head wire nails. So they are nice and neat. This one here is in line with the 2 that go into that joist. So the next thing you do is repeat the process on this gable end here. Okay, and then the next thing to do is to put the next tin on. Can actually be quite a relaxing hobby building these if you've got a lot of time. That is your tins firmly in place, and for the next part where we attach this ridge onto the roof, and this serves a double purpose. Not only does it fix through to the main wall, but it also means you've then got a reference point to nail into from the inside. For this bit we're going to turn it round, and we're going to just equal that over. You'll need a pen, and if you've got a adjustable square, and what you do is you position that on the ridge about 1/8 to 1/8 of an inch in, you see, because where that edges there, that's the wall. And you do the same here, and we do the same on the other side. You can either use a fine drill bit, which will be about 2 to 3 millimeters in metric, or my preferred method, which is a little bit easier, is to take one of the 2-inch lost head nails. They call it a lost head, but it has actually got a small head on it. And what I do is, quite simply, I snip it off, and then hopefully you've got a drill, in which case that nail goes into your drill. Where you've put your marks, you want a slight angle on it, because hopefully when you turn that over, you're aiming for that to go at a slight angle into this groove, and you're after that on all 4. So there you have 4 holes, every single one of them into these grooves or vents. This is to ventilate air through, and then pop it on your ridge. Make sure that's nice and flush on both sides, and then you just tap it in. I put that one in that side. I tend to then put this one in the opposite side hole. It's a bit like when you tighten bolts up on something, you always do them at an angle. So what I then do is I turn it up and I check. Nothing there. I'll check on the other side as well. And again, there's nothing there. So these 2 nails are coming into this wall about here, missing this hole. Tap those down a bit, get your punch and just punch them below the surface. This means that it's a bit more secure. Once you pop that on, sometimes people just sand these edges just to take the sharp edge off. You then turn it over, and then we basically put 4-inch lost head nails equidistant apart inside, but we put them both sides, so we put 8 in total, 4 per board, and this is where we fix this side of the boards to the ridge. So we then have to go to the end of the table again, I'm afraid. If you've got a bradawl or a spike, these are very handy, because this one at the top is quite difficult to get hold of. But I just push it through, and the reason I do this is because then when I get the small brass escutcheon pins, or gimp pins as some people call them, that hole I've just put there, that nail will drop nicely into it. And then get my hammer, you pierce these as well. There's 4 pins per cone in total, so that's 8 per roof. These cones are for air ventilation. Once that one is done, quite simply flip the roof over and away you go with the second one. So that's the 8th and final nail in, and once that's done, your roof is complete, and it is then ready to put onto your assembled hive.